So the main idea is that we come up with some kind of workshop for students in universities who want to learn how to do cloud native stuff in AWS. We will start with AWS. If we have too much time, maybe we will do the same in Azure. But the idea is that everything is cloud native, and they will use something like Cloud9, for example. They will be able to code their stuff, their project inside the cloud. They don't even need a computer. I think they can do it from mobile phone as well if they want. And the outcome of this project would be for students to, there are some points. One would be get free pizza, because in the workshop we will probably have a free pizza as well on Accenture money. Ideally, learning some new things, how to work from anywhere, and how to work efficiently and save time, because like a lot of this is going to be automated. They will have CI/CD and all that fancy stuff, all DevOps stuff, and yeah. For us personally, we would call this hackathon a huge win if we. So if we actually, if we write the code for it, show some demo, we have some kind of demo, and we have ideally, okay, maybe this would be a plus, but if we also have some kind of presentation that we can show in workshop at the beginning, that what we are going to do, but ideally we just have code and the demo for the code.
We would like to automate provisioning of some security scanners based on EC2 instance. We would like to provision the EC2 instance and install inside of it Node.js framework, and after it to pull out things named the Cloud Storage Security Framework. It's half open source, and we also have commercial service in PaaS based on same framework. And after pulling of this cloud exploit, we're going to run some scan using by specially provisioned EIM roles and users, exactly the same EIM roles which we're using for provisioning EC2 instance. And it allows us to make a scan of all services and infrastructure which we have inside this AWS environment. And after it, result of the scan, we will pack it and send it on some email. And if we will be successful for these things, we would like to think about automation of it with Jenkins pipe, and as a second beneficial an extension of services, we're thinking about to use some make a parsing of scan results, get the public IPs, and scan them with some open source scanner like Nmap or Flan or whatever, and also put the results in the same report and send on some email which we would like to use as a simple secure solution, we'll say account owners or resellers or whatever. So we already have some conception, and we just need to automate it and present it tomorrow.
Okay. So we have a small team of 2, and the idea is that we are going to make a small service which is going to allow to fetch data for the set of countries, and the idea is that it's going to be implemented on Kubernetes. There's going to be front end and back end. And the idea is that in the back end you will have a small script which is going to run each several, like let's say each 5 minutes, and it's going to fetch the data from an API which you will have to find, and once the script is executed, it's going to save the information to the database, and after that in front end you'll be able to select the country you have in the database, and you will be able to see the temperature. So the idea is that at home you will be able to enroll a small cluster which will be able to give you the results of the temperature of countries you would need. And this is the main idea. So you will prepare a YAML file which will deploy the full infrastructure.
Okay, thank you.
Badalov, and I will present solution for security scanning from Riga team. Yeah. Just a couple of words about ideas with presentation. Why exactly I want to do it. I'm going to present you slave security conception. So you are probably aware that, for example, in some CI/CD systems, your system can be very slow on resources, or, for example, can be based on very cheap instances. And usually you use some slaves, yeah, for producing, for delivering the result of some pipelines. No need to keep a very powerful instance for CI/CD infrastructure. We can use exactly the same thing for security scanning. And regarding my ideas was to use, for example, some CI/CD server, which allow us to produce with Terraform client or any other configuration tool. First we're planning to produce just one virtual machine, but today we are a little bit change our conception, and we would like to produce with two different virtual machines with different purpose. First one is we'll do just internal scan using our environment credentials, and the second one, using exactly the same credentials, we'll get the how to say it, all public IPs which are associated with our resources, and we'll do scan from public outside. So we obviously can get in the result clear picture from inside of cloud environment and from outside. So for now we'll just try. Guys, can you say me any email which you would like, for example, use for a saving report? Because we'll do report exactly for bootcamp environment. Just say some email.
Like a real email address?
Yeah, you'll receive a report. For sure, we do that to real.
Bill Gates at Microsoft.com.
No, seriously.
Well, you can try mine.
Okay.
It will be hard to spell for you.
Type it. But I can show you reports which I previously said. Exactly. This is sending sometimes this value match. And inside, yeah, just finding is verifying. Inside of this report, you can find files like that. It will be just CSV files. And inside of this received files, it's exactly regarding our bootcamp, you can find all important information about all the provision infrastructure, like SSL certificates, for example, any virtual machines or PaaS services which are enabled, any work role, any IAM accounts. If, for example, you don't enable rotating of keys or your passwords or whatever. So everything about that will be definitely delivered to you. So from this point of view, it's allowing you to understand what exactly happened inside your infrastructure. You probably can check your last presentation. Here is the URLs. It's the first one is mine. Second one is exactly URLs of software which I will use it for this presentation and scanning. Did you receive it?
Yes.
Use it. Okay, guys. I think it's all from my side.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I can start. So I don't have a PDF presentation, but I have a wiki that showcases how GitHub wikis work as well.
Yeah, it's definitely better.
Anyway, so the idea of our project was that we make some kind of workshop for students who maybe don't know much about IT, but maybe they study IT and they know at least what GitHub is. So the prerequisites would be probably that they know at least something, but not really much about cloud or anything. Maybe they have heard it. And a lot of them usually have some kind of pet projects that they host in GitHub. What we would like is for them to teach what kinds of cloud native services are available, more specifically in AWS and maybe also in Google Cloud, how easy or hard it is to set them up, and the technology stack that we are aiming for this workshop would be something based on GitHub, so GitHub Actions to use as an orchestration tool for CI/CD, Docker-based applications, because we would like to show how to use ECS, ECR, and something based on Docker, and also that way they could be able to learn how to use Docker locally, and the same stack that they have in EC2, in ECS, for example, or Google container or some services, they can also set up locally. And why we chose ECS was basically because it's within the free tier, unlike EKS or Fargate. And the other point was to show which kinds of cloud native services are available under free tier in AWS, or what you can do in Google Cloud, and how to set up your account that you get $200 or $300, I think it's $300 for free, and that you can play around. But today we don't really have all of these resources that I mentioned. We mostly have ECS, ECR, and that's about it. But of course, this is only a proof of concept, and some things will change. Remember, before we do the actual workshop. So prerequisites today are basically AWS account and GitHub account. There's a installation guideline. I won't go into details, but basically high-level overview is that you have GitHub account. There is a story of code. You use GitHub Actions that get triggered on commit. And there are basically like two main steps. One is to build Docker image and push it to container registry, and the other one is to deploy your application on ECS. And there are a bunch of to-dos before we actually want to go and make this as a workshop. For example, maybe make currently we created ECS cluster manually with hands with the AWS console wizard. We would like to have it ideally in confirmation stack, and so students all they would have to do is create an IAM user and AWS access keys, put them in GitHub secrets, and then GitHub Actions will create a CloudFormation stack and deploy application. We couldn't make it work today because the application that we chose was much harder to get it working than we thought. But and for example, other things are ideally we would like to show how to set up some billing reports, maybe some scheduling for like ECS, EC2 instance could be scheduled to turn off during the nights when they don't need them, and some more like quality assurance steps maybe in CI/CD part, and something about like more how to do it properly. But currently we just have some very basic steps to make an application running in AWS. And the application that we chose was Chatterbot. It's an open source machine learning chatbot written in Python, and the front end. So it's a huge Python library, and the front end is written in Django. And I can show a small demo how it looks when it's running. So here is an EC2 instance. We don't have any logo on search in front or anything, just everything is yeah, and for example, tell me a joke. Did you hear the one about mountain goat in the... Okay, has... sometimes it does something random, but the point is that it's actually learning, and it also has injected some learning data that's available in GitHub as well. And so it already has some data, and the more you chat, the smarter it gets.
Thank you.
we have a team of two. It's like called TBT, Two Brother Teams.
Yes.
And we have made a small service, weather service at home, which have main specifications. In general, it's a Kubernetes cluster which have front end and back end, and the idea behind it is that we have some kind of a special API which we're using to get the data about weather, and a special script which is running inside the Kubernetes and getting the data, and after that it pushes the data into the database, and the script runs every like 3 minutes on cron job inside the virtual machine on the cluster, and front end connects to the back end and gets this data. And the main idea was to configure all of this and drop it into the cluster with YAML files. So the containers, the idea of container was that it was built from scratch, and most of the time was spent on this because there was a mess with PHP FPM and PostgreSQL, which was on the back end. And since we decided to go straight from scratch, just using sorry about the mess in the code, but this ampersand probably arrived after copy paste. But the idea was that we've been making from everything from scratch, so we had a container from Debian, and then we've been enrolling all the necessary software. And after that, we have wrote some kind of Kubernetes YAML files to enroll front end and to switch on the service which will pipe the connections to the front end. And the idea was to make a back end as well, but unfortunately we didn't have enough time. Basically it gives you information about the weather in TXT file. It's like the simplest you can use probably. After that, we have tested this out. It was working quite well, I would say, and we think that there are some points of improvements, such as, for example, email notifications, or we can set customizable data. For example, you can have this front end with humidity levels and, for example, for speed of the wind and stuff like this. And also you can put in front end, for example, history. So because in API, and actually I can show how API looks. Virtual machine to see straight away code. Let's say show the code.
New York City 18, right?
No, it's actually fake data.
Okay.
The real one is coming from this link.
Mm-hmm.
When you open it, there is like tons of data, like really like lots of data, including the speed of the wind, temperature, and a lot of stuff. And it's like standard for some of the meteor stations, right? And you can use this information, and you can keep this information for a long time, and then you can grab the statistics out of it. Then in Postgres, you will be able to see the temperature, and for example, if I will change the data, I can do it, for example, manually, then in the web interface we will have this from front end.
Okay.
This data. And yeah, that was the idea. That we have front end, back end and front end. And currently I'm just running it as virtual machines, but the idea was that you can use Kubernetes cluster
like a container.
to run over. Yeah.
Okay.
So, virtual machine.
Awesome.
That's fine. The idea was that you can have different cities, and then you can add some historical data, for example. But the idea was that firstly we needed to implement it, right? So that's why I'm telling that in the future there are like idea to add email notifications, for example, because for example in case you have some rainy day coming, you can get yourself notified about this, and you will know. And also you can set some customizable data. You can track all the data for us, but you can track only the data you are interested in. And usually services doesn't provide you everything. But when you get the information from metro station, you have everything and for as long as you want, because you store this information.
Okay.
And yeah, that's it. And there is a repository with this. There's a lot of stuff which is still pending to be done. But that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay guys, time for voting. Yeah? I would like to ask you to give your voice and find the best project, which you see between all these three. First one is dedicated for security systems. Ricky Tikitavi team. I get my own team member. And if we won, it will be Oleg and Vadim's. And for free-tier student environment and system, wiki system, it will be free-tier team, yeah, rest of you. And for River database or something like that, it will be 2 browsers team, yeah, and will be Alexander and Daniel. So I'm waiting for your decision. Since I'm event organizer, I can't say anything or what or anything. Do we have, I don't know, information or ideas? Who will win? Come on, say, guys, I need the name.
I liked his project a lot. It seemed like he did a lot and he was working all by himself, so it...
No, he was helping.
Oh, okay.
My brother.
Oh, okay. No, but still, it seemed like you guys did a lot.
Yes, there still needs to be done a lot.
So, you're giving your words for Alexander.
Yeah.
Alexander.
My vote is for hackathon.
That's not my team. I'm an organizer. It's Oleg team in this case.
Yeah,
Okay, for security project. Okay, Oleg, you're voting. Please be serious. We need the winner.
Very hard.
Very hard.
Security.
Security project is better. Okay.
Not better, but more completely.
Not completely. Okay. In this case, we have 2 against 1. Okay, and it means that security will build the scanners. It will be a winner, and it means that you and Vadim should save some prizes. What you would like to give? Everyone is agree with it?
Yeah.
What you would like to receive as prize? Okay, you can say it a little bit later, no problem. Yeah.
Ask question.
Okay, I will do that as email about Monday.
Let's give it a call.
First time.
Yeah, have information.